Welcome everybody to another Autonomy Quest. I want to thank you all so much for joining us. I'm really happy to have you here. I see some familiar faces and names on your profile, and I really appreciate that. We're super excited to have you. Tonight, our guest is a cornerstone of the autonomy community, somebody that I consider a mentor to myself. He was one of the very first people to reach out to me whenever I began my autonomy journey. He was running the landing pad, and I have considered him an important part of my autonomy journey ever since then. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome Mr. Mike Nimetz. Mike, welcome.
Thank you. It's really, truly an honor to be here, Ashley, and certainly to have you as the host to interview. I'm a little bit afraid. I'm a little bit scared of what I might reveal, but I think I'm in good hands. So
Yes, I think it's going to be, we don't have any issues having really excellent conversations. So, I think we're in good shape. So just to let everybody know the flow, I'm going to go over a couple of things that we need to go over first, and that is the enrollment process for autonomy. So if you have any questions at all, you can let us know. Then I have a clip of Mike, and then we're going to do our conversation with Mike, and then have some Q&A. So the enrollment process to join autonomy. Obviously, you're here for Autonomy Quest to help you make an informed decision and make sure it's right for you. And I believe that it is. And you're welcome to join us anytime and always come back for Autonomy Quest. You know that we're super excited to have you back. Then you want to have a Blueprint for Success strategy call. And I'm going to drop my link in the chat so everybody has an opportunity to book a call with me if we haven't had a chance to speak already. And that's basically us going in depth and talking about what we have to offer here that can help you, take your life to the next level. So we'll do that. And then you also will, once we do that, then you'll get your offer for autonomy, and then you will get joined up and join the community, join the forum. You'll have access to all the events that are happening literally every single day of the week. And yeah, we can't wait to have you there. So without further ado, oh, and a couple of quick bullet points as well, that our season, obviously, the international meet and greet is happening tonight. And if you are interested in dropping in on that, we would love to have you. So you can, I'll drop a link here for that a little bit later. And then we also are still running our early bird special. The official kickoff of lecture 1 is April the 5th. So that's next Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. All right. Now, without further ado, I'm going to screen our video that we have of Mike. And as usual, please bear with me as I deal with, tech things.
There's just so many things that I'm just really, really grateful to be a part of this. And, it's such a magical thing for me because, man, I feel like I've been looking for this group for a long time. And, to have this opportunity to work with you guys, I mean, I am really in awe of what you guys are doing. And, certainly what Richard is doing. And the fact that, like, for example, when I first got on the autonomy, site and looked through that, my impression was, wow, this is done so well. I mean, it was like it's almost a magical experience that led me to, to get an appointment with Richard. And it just happened so easily. And then to find out that this was all something that effectively was put together by the students, just to me says a great deal about, the capabilities and the potential of all you guys, So, um, you know, just discovering that is a win for me. But I've really had a great week. I got to work with Haida Marie a little. She volunteered to do some stuff with me, and she's having a circumstance with her husband at the moment. But her attitude and her just dedication to still trying to help just blows me away.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another Center Stage, Autonomy Center Stage. This is the center stage for August 16th, 2023. And Center Stage is focusing the spotlight on unique people, their projects, and cool stuff going on and originating from the minds of the autonomy community. Center Stage is a place where ideas are ignited, connections are forged, and dreams are visualized. It's a community centerpiece that embraces the journey of growth, where individuals find inspiration, guidance, and support. Tonight, we're going to visit with Miguel, myself, who's going to explore the ethical emergence course that's called 4.2, but in particular, we're going to be calling it the Professional Utility Management Project. That's going to be, that I'm going to be hosting here in the near future, starting in August 28th. All right, thanks everybody. Certainly for your time and attention. It's my interest tonight to provide you with some, I hope, really important value. I've got a project in mind with an objective to demonstrate taking an idea and turning it into reality. And why not do it with my own idea? And so something that it's something that I used to do regularly in the construction industry. I'd take a set of plans and I'd turn it into a real thing. And, to me, that was always where, the rubber meets the road. And, I felt really strongly about, that kind of ability to take action and to do stuff that other people, it was their dreams, taking their dreams and turning them into reality, especially when I was building houses or building projects for, for people that really, that was excited about what that thing might be. When I got into the corporate world, it was a little bit different. And that certainly turned me away from construction eventually. And now I'm doing it for what I think is something much more meaningful, hopefully some of you. So a definition to start off with: utility, the state of being useful, profitable, or beneficial. That's the definition that I'm using when I'm referring to the idea of professional utility management project. This is a project where we're going to help people increase their utility in a professional way. So we've got a couple quotes, and I'm going to try and move through these rather quickly. The only way that we can live is if we grow. The only way that we can grow is if we change. The only way that we change is if we learn, and the only way we can learn is if we are exposed. And the only way that we are exposed is if we throw ourselves out into the open. Interesting quote, and I'm sure some of us recognize that there's a flaw in that quote, but it's the spirit that I would suggest we should agree with.
All righty. What did you think about that, Mike?
Well, that first part, man, wow, I didn't have a beard then. That was definitely almost it seems like a different era, but yeah, I'm glad that I'm still here, honestly, because I still feel the same way. I'm so glad to be a part of this community, and I hope that shows, because I definitely feel very strongly about what's going on here, and I really have high hopes for the future. I get opportunity to work, that professional utility management project is something that you're involved with now. And I see a few other people that are involved in that project. And I have sky high hopes for the future because of that.
Absolutely. So I think that I do want to touch on that utility project and on the class that you offer. But before we get there, I want to kind of take it back to the beginning. So you were a season 2 graduate of autonomy. So why don't you tell us how you originally came to find out about autonomy to begin with?
Yeah, well, I live here in Acapulco, and I was part of the Anarchapulco kind of beginnings and the establishment of Anarchapulco as a thing in February. Uh, and it just so happened that one of the guys that I was associated with did an interview with Richard, and he posted that interview. And I think that was probably, I don't know, September of like 2019. And when I saw that video, I was like, oh man, I gotta get a meeting with that guy. And I knew of Richard. I had been in the freedom movement for quite a while. I kind of retired from the construction business in early 2007. And soon after that, I kind of discovered Ron Paul and then kind of became part of the Ron Paul movement. And it just so happened that one of the guys that kind of established Ron Paul Radio, the internet radio service, was in the town that I lived in, Pensacola, Florida, and he was looking for people to do radio shows. And so I asked my younger brother, "Hey, you want to do a radio show for Ron Paul Radio on like military people, veterans, and so forth?" And so that's what we did. We started what we called the Mike and Jake Show, the Fire Team for Freedom, in 2007. And that became a show that we did like 5 times a week, 2 hours a night for almost a year, until the election happened. And obviously Ron Paul didn't win,
You did not.
but I learned a great deal. I mean, that was huge. But in kind of discovering the freedom community through that exercise, Richard was one of those people that I was introduced to. And then I think soon after that, I was certainly interested in School Sucks podcast was one that I really kind of got attuned to. And of course, Richard and has a relationship with damn it, I'm forgetting the name here at the moment, but that was
Brett Vignot.
Yeah, Brett. And then also I followed Jan Irvin, and kind of his investigations of a number of different things. And certainly one of the things that was a powerful impact for me was the Trivium. And the kind of that whole investigation and that time period was definitely something that I benefited from. So when I saw Richard, I said, I gotta, so I called up that guy and I said, "Hey, how do I get a hold of Richard?" And he said, "Oh, just go on the website and, schedule a meeting." And I did. And at that time, Richard was doing the calls himself. And so I got to spend, I think we probably did like 2 hours of talking to Richard. And it was like, I thought of it as the best meeting I've ever had. And I mean, I've talked to a lot of people and I've had a lot of meetings, in the construction industry, in the military, doing business and everything else. And I never had a conversation like I had with Richard. And to me, that was, this is the place,
Yeah.
I've got to be involved. And so I
Yeah.
was. And then I think I came in about week 5 of season 2, and I had to like catch up. And it was much different back then to what it is now. A lot simpler, I think, in a lot of ways,
Mhm.
but still, uh, very exciting to me. And I took extensive notes that first go round of every single thing. And those notes actually turned into some of the things that we still use today, like the breakout room questions and stuff are kind of formulated from what became the question team, which was Agnieszka's uh, kind of uh, idea. And that developed into kind of the pre and post questions that people are familiar with when they go through the course. But yeah, that's the beginning.
Yeah. So, and once you got into season 2, you have participated in every single season since then. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I just I can't describe the amount of benefit that has happened to me. I would say that to some degree, I was in the process of being broken in the when I got involved in autonomy, because my dedication at that time was to Anarchapulco and kind of the community, the local community there in Acapulco, and that just didn't pan out. And
Right.
unfortunately, it it turned sour, and in a lot of ways, it broke my heart. And then, of course, there were a lot of other things that transpired that were tragic and difficult, and for a while. And of course, then the COVID thing happening, and it's just like, oh my God, there's just so many things that are going wrong at the same time. And to a large degree, I think the autonomy community was something I could hold on to when all else was failing.
Absolutely. And you were taken even this most recent season, season 10, you had some adversity and you were taken out of the program for a bit. And I have to say, even though I hadn't gone through all the other programs with you, because I just came in at season 10, as you know, but I felt like something was missing. Somebody was missing, everybody was missing you because of your presence in the community, and not just a presence of being a lurker, but somebody who is truly there for us every single day. And I literally mean every day. So your presence was very, very missed during that time. And do you want to talk a little bit about what that was like, being separated from something that you put so much of yourself into?
Yeah, well, it was a hurricane. It was a huge hurricane. It was like a nuclear bomb got dropped on Acapulco, and to a large degree, everything was out. The communications was out. The cell towers were blown down. I mean, there's no electricity, no water. Pretty much everything is like destroyed or damaged. All the roads that there was no road that you could drive a car down, so everybody was walking around. Uh, and it was just a incredibly unique experience. And of course, my daily schedule is completely, out the window. Uh, so kind of going back to almost like living in a cave kind of situation, like there's like all the basics are basically the only things you've got, and you've got to really kind of think on your feet. And so for a while that occupied me, but then you know the difficulty in kind of getting back to like modern technology, it took a while. It took probably 2 or 3 weeks before I was able to actually connect with anybody and get a message out. But uh, during that time, I really got to kind of witness the environment and culture that's here in Acapulco, and it didn't let me down at all. I mean, it was really something that I hold dearly as far as an experience and a memory that I'm really super proud of the people here. because
Yeah.
they stuck together, and you know, I feel like it's an experience that I definitely want to bring to the autonomy community too. I want that kind of strong culture that, like, no matter what happens, we're resilient enough and we're anti-fragile enough that it's just going to make us stronger. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's exactly what happened here in Acapulco. The people are even stronger than they were before. Now they are definitely doing their best, you know, as far as the government and the US government, to turn this into a welfare situation. But I think if freedom can't grow here in Acapulco, then we're really in trouble. But
Yeah.
it's a hell of a culture, and I do love it, and I do want to you know, make that part of our culture here in autonomy.
Yeah. And I think that you're doing that every day with the many, many projects that you are involved in. So, having said that, let's talk about everything that you're involved in the community because it's a lot.
Yeah,
So,
well,
let's talk about that. What do you do?
yeah, well, I mean, that's, you know, I had the good fortune many years ago to be able to retire early from my job, you know. So I wasn't even 40 years old and I got to step away. Now I got to step away because I had some ethical issues with the company that I was working for, and they knew it too. And they basically just wanted to pay me to get the hell away from it because they knew I had information that probably wasn't you know, in their best interest to reveal. And so to do that, they basically gave me a really nice severance package, and I got to walk away, you know, with a nice nest egg that I basically did not have to work anymore, you know. Unfortunately, I learned that that doesn't mean that it's over, you know, that now I'm in the glory spot and I don't have to worry about anything anymore because I got too much money. It just makes you a target, unfortunately. I'm here to tell you. And I learned that the hard way. But I did spend a lot of time, and I got, you know, probably a decade or more of the ability to just do what I wanted to do and learn what I wanted to learn. And really, for me, I mean, I started off with a mission. I wanted to find out, like, what the hell is really going on, you know? And luckily I found, you know, Ron Paul. And although that was you know, I think a misguided attempt at kind of learning how things work, I did learn. I learned a great deal. And uh you know, I, I, I want to share that. I want to share that knowledge because I don't think that's something that everybody gets an opportunity to know. And,
Yeah.
you know, so then, you know, kind of developing the habit of doing my own thing and just doing it my own way. Uh, like autonomy is kind of given me that this community is giving me that opportunity that I can lead and I can follow, you know, and I do feel like that's something that we all have to learn. I don't think that leadership is the way that they portray it. I think leadership is just as much about followership as it is about
Hmm.
leadership. And so I spend a lot of my time not only doing the things that I want to do, but also supporting the other people that are doing things that they
Absolutely.
want to do
Yes.
and contributing to our community. And so I you know, I wave the flag for them as well.
Yeah, you definitely do. You're a very big supporter in the community. And showing up for other people, and that's very much noticed. So as far as the projects that you lead in the community though, let's talk about that because there's a good handful of those. So I want to make sure that we discuss those.
Yeah, well, what day you want to start with? Well,
Let's start with Sunday.
okay, so Sunday is Autona Toasters, and that wasn't my baby. That was Agnieszka's baby, but somehow it became mine, and I'm not exactly sure how, but it is, I think, a valuable piece of the puzzle when it comes to like learning about, what John Taylor Gatto calls the active literacies, being able to represent yourself and speak well, public speaking. That's what that is really kind of centered around. But there's a lot of different elements that Autonomous Toasters, when it's firing on all cylinders, can do. There's quite a bit, and it is something that has transitioned over the years, because it's been going on, I think it's probably the end of season 2, maybe season 3 that it started. I think actually Agnieszka had kind of an early version, but transitioning into the current version, it's been going on since then. And like everything, it's kind of it has like a wave where it goes up and it goes down. But I I've been an incredible beneficiary of witnessing that. So yeah, I've seen a lot of speeches by a lot of our community members, and I am so much better off because of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And okay, so and the focus of that really is to help people become better at their public speaking skills, grow their confidence, and have a safe place to do the practice and bring their information to the community, right?
Yeah, and get feedback from, some seasoned veterans on
Mhm.
how they can get better. And
Yeah.
I do feel like that's taking place for sure.
Okay, so let's move on to Monday. What do you have going on Monday?
Well, I do want to give a shout out to May and the Magic Bullet on Sunday, because I am definitely a big follower of what Tim is doing there, and it's been an influence on me as far as some of the things that I do. But yeah, you'll definitely catch me at May and the Magic Bullet on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. So maybe let's tell them what is May and the Magic Bullet.
So May Brussels was a kind of a radio host. She was a housewife that was interested in like the JFK assassination, and she purchased the original Warren report, and she went through that meticulously over years, and then she started writing about it, and then she started broadcasting about it. And for I don't know exactly when her radio show began. I believe it was in the early 70s, and it went all the way into I think 1988, when she passed away kind of mysteriously from this fast acting cancer, which it may have been, some nefarious
Yeah.
people that wiped her out. But what's interesting is all those broadcasts were recorded, and Tim goes through those recordings, and he just kind of dialogues them, and uh, kind of breaks them down, and then he kind of associates some of the stuff that she's saying with the things that are going on in the present world, and it's it's just really enlightening, and it really does. I mean, I have learned a great deal, and I'm a pretty seasoned, kind of street smart individual
Yeah.
myself, but I still have learned a great deal about a lot of things, and some of the associations, and some of the dots that have been connected because of Tim's kind of meticulous research, and just the way that he presents the information. Uh he does it well. And to him, it's a labor of love. Tim is a very busy man, and to get his time, and to make the effort that he does, and to do it so consistently. I mean, it's a shining example of the kind of some of the people that are here in autonomy, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, absolutely. So when you get into the community, definitely make sure to check out May and the Magic Bullet. And okay, so then what else? What other projects are you working on?
So then Monday morning, we got what I call PMTNT, which is project mindset tips and techniques. And for the most part, I do like about a 15 or 20-minute presentation on something project management related that is helpful for you. And typically there's kind of uh, a regular crew that kind of joins me in those, and we have a discussion about that particular topic. And hopefully it's only about a 30 to 45-minute conversation, but it's generally project management related. It might be time management. It might be, kind of self-focused as far as self-improvement type stuff. But generally it's how do you deliver projects better. These are some of the skills and tips and techniques that you can use to do those things. And then I have like kind of what I call open office, and we talk after that, we kind of cut off the tape, and we just talk about individual projects that people are working on and how to make them better.
And
And so that's,
I
go
wanted to
ahead.
point out that the reason that you are leading that is because of your career that was in project management, right? So you
Yep.
really had an opportunity to learn the the best practices and the ins and outs of running an efficient project, and that has made you be in a position to help others in the community as well. So is that the reason that you started that project, was because you had this experience and you saw that that was something that would be beneficial to people in the community?
Yeah, well, I mean, my background, I've kind of lived a life where construction was kind of the thing I did. My uncle owned a dump truck and excavation company, and so like right from the beginning, I was involved in construction and construction equipment and stuff like that. But then my stepfather later on was a carpenter, master carpenter, and I got to be his apprentice, and became a journeyman carpenter as well. So I knew the construction from the ground up. And I mean, when I got out of the Army, I started working as a laborer on a construction job site, pretty much at the bottom of the barrel as far as jobs that you can get in the construction industry, and worked my way all the way to, superintendent, and then a project manager, and then a program manager, and really kind of working with Fortune 500 executives and many of the, board of directors on, big projects, $1 billion projects. And so I've pretty much seen the entire industry. And as a project manager and as a superintendent, I was kind of known as a guy that could do the impossible. There's a thing called the project management triangle, and there's three things: cost, time, and quality, or scope. And they say you can have two of those things, but you can't have three. So which are the things that are most important to you? I say no. I can give you all three. You know,
Mm-hmm.
how do I do that? Well, that's kind of a little secret of my success, but it's really people. It's
Mm-hmm.
about solving people problems and increasing productivity. Productivity is really the key to getting all three of those.
Yeah.
But how do you do that? That's it's an interesting combination, and I was able to successfully do that as a superintendent, and then as a project manager on a number of different things. I went from building residential homes to building kind of multifamily developments, to then doing commercial development and manufacturing development, and then commercial I did one of the hardest things that you can do, and that's build gas stations. And I used to
Mm,
do those because there's just so many damn rules when it comes
yeah.
to building a gas station. But I like set the record for doing a gas station in the fastest time it's ever been done. And so that led me to doing aviation work, and I worked. I was primarily, my office was in Chicago, so I worked for the Chicago Department of Aviation, and they had a big problem with a third airport. They wanted to expand. Chicago O'Hare it was pretty much reached its limitations, and so we were working on a project to expand O'Hare. They had tried it twice before and failed, and so I was kind of the guy that came in to figure out how to get it done, and I was able to do it, and it became at first like a $10 billion project, and today it's still going. I started like
Oh,
back in the '90s on the master plan of that project, And, it's about to complete. I think it's probably going to complete in 2025 or 2026, but it has, there's 6 parallel runways now instead of 6 crossing runways. And that was a huge, huge project that it it required like an amount of collaboration that uh, is, I, you know, it
Mind
seemed
boggling.
impossible. Yeah,
Yeah.
but we were able to pull it off, and
Yeah.
it took everything that I had as far as my knowledge and my street smarts, and but when I was done with it, I knew I had put billions of dollars in the hands of the wrong people.
Mm,
And to me, that was something that I didn't like a lot. And
yeah.
eventually that led to my ending. But I love project management. I love construction. I love teamwork and collaboration. I love working with people. And so I like to share that knowledge for sure.
Yeah. Yes, and I would say that the vast experience, quite incredible, makes you uniquely qualified to help coach people and advise people on their regular projects. I mean, I can tell you that no project I've ever worked on has looked anything like any of those. So, um, okay, well, why don't you tell us about some of the other projects that you have started? What about Tuesday? Oh, and Monday, you also I have to mention this, is your class that you offer to autonomy graduates called Ethical Emergence, and I can speak on this because I joined your class this year. And
Mhm.
so we have class every Monday, which I really enjoy, and I'm very happy to be part of that project. So I wanted to shout that out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, well, that's a special one in my heart, and it's the thing that I really appreciate the most. It actually came about from, my association with Bob Podolsky and
Mhm.
what he calls the Octalog. Uh, he's also titled it Sociopolycentric Stewardship, which is a something that you can find in the Library of Autonomy. For those of you that graduate, that will be given, you will be given access to that, and you'll get to hear from Bob himself. Unfortunately, Bob passed away this past year, but ethical emergence started off as kind of my attempt to get people to the point of realizing like the value that Bob was bringing to the table. And I think for the most part, it has been something that's been like kind of washed out of our society as far as people's awareness of how important working together, teamwork, collaboration is, and how that actually happens. It's not easy, and it's certainly not easy in the environment that we have today.
yeah. Yeah, it's been a special experience for me, and we're just getting started. And not only that, you take time out of your very busy week to meet with every member of our class every single week.
Yeah.
So that's very, very impactful. And you already have gotten me starting to kind of change my thoughts on things. And, so that's pretty amazing. It's only been a couple of weeks. Um, so the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about is Center Stage. Tell us about Center Stage and your involvement in that project. And that happens on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m., right?
Yes. Yeah, and that's something that I've got some help with. Darren and actually Mark is going to join the team as of recently here, and so we've got a team of people working on making that much better. And if you saw that video, I mean, that's kind of the center stage that I brought about what is a lot different than what it is today. And it was kind of, hodgepodge of like just me broadcasting from my bedroom kind of thing. But uh, today it's a much more professional kind of thing. And, you know, and we've got high hopes for the future. It is, the, what I said there, it is, like a spotlight on, the people and the ideas that are coming about from the minds of the autonomy community. And what we hope to bring it is something that actually we just witnessed on Wednesday, with Katie's presentation on flower essences. This is like
Mhm.
a passion of hers. It's something that not many people know about, but it could be very impactful to people's, you know, quality of life. And so she's bringing that to the table, and it's something that, you know, for our community, we've got the benefit of having her expertise.
Yeah.
And, you know, so like that's what center stage is about, is really kind of, uh, you know, spotlighting all these people that are in autonomy that have these unique skills and valuable abilities that maybe we don't know about.
Can
But
you give us a couple of examples of some of the highlights, the spotlights, the students and their projects that have come through center stage? One that
yeah,
I
there's
know off the top of my head, Nick, the sound guy, did that, and I believe that was while you were away, after having your comms down during, um, after the hurricane, and it was on emergency communication. So that was one that
yeah.
I definitely remember. But what else comes to mind for you?
Ah, man, there's a bunch, and I, honestly, you know, I'm constantly asking people like, hey, can you want to come on and do center stage, and maybe it is a little bit intimidating. I think, you know, to like kind of occupy that whole time frame, but I think, you know, we've got the potential. But I'm thinking Daphne is definitely one. She's done a few. She's done one on her webinar about her architectural classes, and she's done one about kind of a technique that she's got for uh, letting go of trauma, which I
Mm,
thought was really a powerful one. But that's one. You know, we've had um, Stefano, you know, who does the Monday night movie thing, which you'll also find me at every time, because I'm not a big fan of movies, but the way that Stefano and Doc, who's here, uh, puts it together and kind of explains and kind of gives us some insight into how it was put together and the people that did it, and like the qualities, and then we have a discussion about the topics that came up and the techniques that were used, and so it's you know, but again, it's like we're highlighting, you know, two of the people that are in autonomy and their love for movies, but then the expertise that they have in regard to video production and audio production and all that kind of stuff. So it's again, it's just it's great to see. Like I see it as like, you know, we're going to do it once, but then we're going to do it again, and we're going to revisit them at a later date. And you know, autonomy is still kind of in its infancy as far
mhm.
as where we're gonna go with this, and how
Yeah.
big this community can get, and how powerful it can become. And so, you know, we're kind of just doing the early versions of, you know, like the Wright brothers building the airplane, or the uh, Ford putting together the Model T or something like that. You know, we're going to have these as our, you know, kind of in our museum at some point.
Yeah. So, and I'm probably missing some stuff, but why don't you talk to us a little bit about the one of your more recent projects between seasons, and that was your review of the Ultimate History Lesson. And I think some of the people here even were able to attend some of those lectures. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I think it's, you know, it's kind of the heritage of, you know, like Rich's work, as well as kind of like what's the basis for autonomy, and like like why are we doing this? That particular interview is is I still think one of Rich's greatest pieces of work. And of course it was a community effort that got that and made it happen. So I think that also speaks a lot about the people that are involved in autonomy, and the people that surround Rich. But yeah, it's just pure gold. I mean, Gatto says things, and you know, knowing how Gatto put his words together, and the words that came out of his mouth were not just words that he just, you know, threw out there. Every word that comes out of his mouth is something that he thought deeply and strongly about, because he wrote down a lot of stuff, and he describes at the early part of that interview how meticulous he is about the words that he chooses to use. And so he 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 throws out bombshells throughout that interview from start to finish of things that are just not common knowledge, and to some degree are, you know, perpendicular to a lot of the ways that we think.
Mhm.
And it does, you know, bring about, you know, some revelations and some epiphanies every time you listen to. And so I've listened to it a bunch, and like that opportunity, I got to listen to it again a couple times because I took notes before the presentation so that I'd be prepared. And then of course I listened to it again when we did the presentation.
Mm.
And then the opportunity in that particular case that, you know, to have Rich there and to talk to him about it and some of the other people that were involved, it even makes it more powerful and meaningful.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's certainly another piece of the influence that I have with the ethical emergence course. I mean, that's another
Yeah.
thing about the ethical emergence course is it's my effort to kind of emulate what John Taylor Gatto was doing and how he was teaching his students. I want to do the same thing.
So, and I wish we had more time because there's a lot to say here. But what I want to ask you is tell us about how you have changed as a person through this journey. And I feel like there's been many cycles because you've been through it so many times and you've been so dedicated. But tell us what has changed for you.
Yeah, well, I think I'm redesigning myself for like the third or fourth time. You know, I've gone through a bunch of lifestyle changes throughout my life. Uh, you know, early on, my parents got divorced when I was a kid, and I was kind of thrown into being an adult at an early young age, and that was a burden. You know, I had to be street smart real early, and so like as a teenager, I was a street smart kid that, you know, handled the business and you know, hustled to make, you know, everything all right for my mother and my sister, and just keep a roof overhead, electricity, and many times we didn't have a telephone, but that was kind of a luxury. But then I transitioned into, you know, being in the military. The day I turned 17 is the day I signed up to be in the U.S. Army, and that was because I really hated the situation that I was in. I thought I was kind of thrown in over my head. But then getting into the military was another kind of lifestyle change and a mentality where I went with the best intentions and learned kind of the hard way that this isn't what I want to do. I was good at it, but yeah, it's not a good thing. And so I had to really kind of come to terms with that. And they didn't want me to leave. I was good at my job, and they really liked me doing what I did. But it was kind of like leaving the mafia, you know. The, like once you get in, you don't get out unless you like, you know, are getting out in a box. But I was able to pull that off, and I got out. And it took me a while. It took me 9 years actually to completely get myself uh, out of the military. But then I got into the construction business, and you know, that's another thing where I thought I was moving from blowing stuff up to building stuff. You know, and I'm contributing to you know, a better community and more wholesome, you know, solutions for people's problems. But unfortunately, again, I kind of learned the hard way that it's not like it appears to be. It's actually much different. And, you know, to a large degree, like when I was building multifamily buildings, I was realizing that, you know, I'm actually I'm taking like government money There was a tax credit program that, you know, the development was based on. So like the rich people that are basically building these buildings are putting the, you know, the real small business people that are renting their homes and, you know, like buying a second home and renting it out. Those are the people that are being impacted mostly by this. And they're the ones that are really bearing the burden for these rich guys to come into town and you know, take all the money. And so, you know, I didn't like that. And then as I got further down the line, certainly that situation with Chicago and the O'Hare, I had to deal with a lot of, you know, difficult characters, you know,
Mhm.
politicians and, you know, mafiosos and, you know, all that kind of stuff to like make that project happen. But to do that, and I did it, but when I was done, I had a bad taste in my mouth, you know.
Mhm.
I did what I said I was going to do, and I did the impossible. But did I actually help people?
Mhm.
I don't think so. And to
Right.
me, that was, you know, so when I retired from that business, that was when I really, I really had to grow up. And that process took a hell of a lot longer than I thought. But here I am today, and I'm finally, I think, growing up.
Mhm.
But but it is about, you know, that ethical, like doing excellence, you know, and being excellent. That's definitely what drives me and what motivates me. And when I see it in other people, and I see it a lot here, makes me happy.
And do you feel like your journey through autonomy, I mean, I feel like you were an ethical person and that you cared about ethics, but do you think the journey through here really helped to hone in on that as a primary ethos and really help you develop more um more in depth your personal ethic, you know, like as far as the transformation that you felt through your autonomy journey?
Well, I'm still working on it because you know what? We're all in that kind of situation in which we're not as ethical as we'd like to be, you know?
Mhm.
And so it's a slog. And in a lot of cases it's you know, like the truth hurts when you kind of find out that you're not contributing or you've contributed to harming other people
Right.
and you didn't really know it, or you're like, you know, your intentions were great, but it just didn't work out that way, you know? And so, you know, people get harmed. And I can say that that's still the case today for me, that I am not perfect, you know,
Sure.
and I'd love to be more perfect, but I think it's something that it's beyond the individual. It's kind of the community and the culture that we contribute to that really kind of leads to you know, the better world and really kind of a circumstance where uh you know, we reduce the amount of harm that we're doing to the absolute minimum that we can. Uh, I I don't know. I could go on for a long time with that, but
Yeah.
I would just I'll stop there.
Okay. Well, I feel like we've covered a lot in a short amount of time, and I want to give people still an opportunity to ask some questions and to wrap up, invite them over to the meet and greet tonight. But before I do that, one last thing: what advice would you give to people who are considering joining autonomy?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not for everybody. I'll say that for sure. But for those of you that are really dedicated to excellence, I really don't, there's just no other place to go. So if you, if that's your interest, if you're interested in bringing about your own excellence or helping uh, facilitate excellence in an organization, then yeah, autonomy is probably the place to be. And, you know, the sooner the better.
Agreed. Very well said, Mike. Okay, so I want to open up the floor to folks that may have questions, and I also want to let everyone know that I am dropping the link. You're all invited to our international meet and greet, which is where other students are going to be coming. They're speaking with Rich, and they're going to talk about their experience in autonomy. And so it's not there's a little bit of an overlap with Quest. We go more in depth in Quest, but there's a lot of people that show up and it's a really fun event. So we wanted to invite you to that. And then the other thing that I wanted to remind you of is to book your Blueprint for Success call with me, because that is your that's our requirement basically to get you into the program. So I'm going to drop my Blueprint link so you can book a 60-minute Calendly with me, a Calendly appointment with me, and we can have our interview and get you on your way. So I think that's everything that I need to touch base on. Now,
I
without
do.
further
Do you
ado,
mind if
oh,
I
go ahead.
just let everybody know
Yeah, please.
when you're invited into the meet and greet tonight, you're a fly on the wall. This isn't really an interactive thing. You're just coming in as a guest to observe. This is an event where the graduates are interviewed by Richard, and it's the beginning of the Autonomy Season 11. So if you have questions and things like that, you can contact Ashley, or you can come back into Quest next week and we can talk about it. But the event that you're being invited to is very specifically for graduate interviews. So reserve your questions for another event.
Thank you, Leah. Yes, very well said. And with having said all of that, I wanted to open it up. So if you have questions about autonomy, if you have questions for Mike, please feel free to chime in.
I got a question.
Yeah, go
Hey,
ahead.
Mike, this is
Hey.
Nick. I'm
Hey, Nick.
actually entering into the season 11 starting next week, and I'm very excited. I really
Excellent.
enjoyed your presentation, very inspirational. My question is, if you were to give a new student of autonomy some advice before entering into the program, what would that be? What do I need to be expecting, or as far as things I can do to get the most out of it?
Yeah. Well, there's just a lot. So, I think it's, I mean, the program, we're going to go through everything, so, as far as like personal organization, time management and stuff like that, you're going to see some of that early on. And, I would say just keep your mind open. And I like to take notes. So take notes, but certainly be ready to ask questions, like if you're taking notes and it's like, question, put a little cue there. I got a question, because Rich will answer questions. He'll answer any question. And I think that's another really beneficial piece of this of autonomy is you get access to Rich, and all of the stuff that he's got, all of the content that he's put out over the years, and there's a lot. He's available to you to ask about any of that stuff, and I think everybody will benefit from that. So be ready to jot down a question and ask it. I would say that's probably the most important thing. And I think if you ask question, you're going to find out how wonderful this community is, because you'll probably then get a couple meetings where people will say, hey, you asked this question. I know a little bit more about that. So you're gonna get some interaction with the community too, probably from asking questions. So I think that would be the thing I would suggest.
And I just wanted to chime in too that I think the other thing is showing up, making yourself available to be there and do get your questions answered and do your integration exercises, because through those integration exercises, you have the most amazing conversations and you find out all of these connections with people that you just don't see on like a classroom basis, right? Like you may hear somebody talk a little bit about themselves, but you get so much more information from the one-on-one exercises. And they serve a multi-purpose too, right? You're getting to know your classmates, you're networking, you're getting prepared for better interview, better speaking skills, or like Mike was saying, like better even public speaking type stuff. And then it's preparing you for sales as well. So I think the biggest thing for me was showing up and being there and trying to ask questions and trying to interact with my classmates and have those conversations.
Yeah, and you're definitely gonna have an interview with me because you asked a question, and I will definitely follow up for sure. So you can definitely put it on your schedule. You're gonna be talking to me.
Gotcha, man. Thanks.
I look forward to that too.
Who else has a question?
Speechless, huh?
I've been trying to do better at Rich's tactic of like, he'll let you
Being
wait.
patient. Yes.
Yes. And I'm not good at that, but I'm trying to get better.
Yeah, patience is a virtue, and it's a wonderful thing. Rich definitely demonstrates that sometimes. I think I'll say, since nobody's going to ask a question, that I've learned a lot of things from Rich, and kind of through his behavior. There's certain things. One thing that I think, you know, as a construction guy and as a military guy, I used to be a very pushy kind of guy. I hurry up, we got to do stuff, man. We got to get stuff done. And I used to, like, that was really the thing. Time is money. And today I am so much different in that regard. Not only because of my Mexico influence and the culture that's here, that's definitely different as far as time is concerned, but also Rich had a suggestion that, like, when a meeting comes up and something doesn't happen, you're waiting, you're sitting there waiting for the meeting to happen, and it's not happening. Have your plan B ready. Just go to plan B. And I know that sounds rather simple, but in actual application, it it takes the pressure off, and I just, every time every time that I'm prepared for a meeting, I'm also prepared with that in mind. And I just, you know, it's just such a different mindset. And that's just one thing, but that can unlock so much, as far as, like, when somebody doesn't show up and you're like, oh man, I'm offended because they didn't show up, or man, I was disrespected because they didn't. You don't have to do that, you can just, I got plan B. I got this book I
Yeah.
want to read. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna spend
Focus.
10 minutes reading. And
Yeah.
if they
Focus
don't
your
show up in
energy
10
on.
minutes, so yeah, there's a lot of that kind of stuff that I don't know that Rich talks about that specifically, but it's definitely something he demonstrates.
Yeah, I think that was a big thing for me was, coming in and starting to change my mindset, right? And start thinking about what we talk about, the stoicism philosophy, and like, oh, well, maybe I really shouldn't complain. Maybe I should work on my gratitude. Maybe I should work on all these things. And I feel like my life, my mindset, my approach is totally different. And like you said, it's not perfect. I'm not perfect. There's still a lot more that I want to do, a lot better of a person that I want to be, but I feel better, like a lot better. So it's been, incredibly
Yeah.
impactful.
Yeah. And I think the more that you, kind of discipline yourself to be excellent in all the things that you do. And again, I think this is where autonomy really comes into play. Practicing excellence is something you can do in autonomy. And there's just all kinds of opportunities throughout the day
Yes.
that you can be like, I'm gonna practice excellence today. I'm
Mhm.
gonna talk to this person. I want to be very positive, and you can do that. And
Yeah.
then it's like, oh man, I love this. And then it continues, And so
Yeah.
it's
It's snowball effect, really.
yeah. So that's another thing is that, with those interviews and then also with all the other opportunities that are in autonomy, whether it be the kind of student events or others, there is definitely lots of opportunities to practice with people that have a different mindset than what you're going to find out there in the crazy world.
Yeah. 100%.
So I don't have a question. I just have a comment. One of the reasons I joined Autonomy, I'm going to be season 11, is because I went to some of these, and then I signed up to go to your after show with the showing of the interview with John Taylor Gatto, and I heard you interacting with a student who wasn't sure that they wanted to join, and you were so kind and positive. And that's when as soon as I got off that meeting, that's when I made my appointment with Lisa for
Awesome.
my blueprint interview. And then it took about a week or so for me to finally do it. But the minute I paid my fee and signed up, that big smile came across my face. And I was like, ah. And then the following week, I joined you for that Wednesday night. Is that the center stage?
Center stage, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that I did it because I really enjoyed interacting with you and everybody else in the forum, and I'm really excited about this opportunity. Scared and excited.
That's
Excellent.
awesome.
Great
Yeah,
place
so
to be.
thank you everybody.
Thanks for sharing that, Janet. That's awesome. I'm really excited about season 11 getting started here soon. So,
So that everybody
Okay.
that's on here is coming on season 11?
Not everybody. Some people are prospective students as well. And welcome, Kathy. It's nice to see you.
Hello.
Yeah, so we have some people that have already joined up, some people that are thinking about it, and then some autonomy grads.
I see.
All right. Well, does anybody else have one last question before we wrap up and head over to our meet and greet? All righty. Well, I guess we will wrap it up. So I want to especially thank Michael for coming on with me tonight. Thank you so much, Michael. I always love talking to you. I really appreciate you as a mentor, as somebody who has been here for me throughout my entire autonomy journey. Mike also did my graduation interview, and you're just special to me. So thank you very much.
My pleasure, Ashley. Thank you for inviting me. And it wasn't that bad after all. I was a little nervous, but yeah, we did all right.
Yeah, I think we did.
You did
All
a
right,
really
everybody.
nice job, Michael and Ashley.
Yeah.
Thank you. Really good.
Thank you, Leah. All right, everybody. Well, I hope to see you over there and see you within the forum in season 11. And also, I'll be here next week for Autonomy Quest. So we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Care, everybody.